What's going on, folks? You're watching The Hungry Handgunner. I'm Nick. Now, I hope everybody's doing well. I've been kind of answering a few questions from a few different people, some of my subs that are new and some of my subscribers that have been here for a while, as well as some personal Facebook friends. So one of the things that keeps coming up, and it's kind of a recurring topic, is going to be the topic of home defense. Automatically, when you say home defense, people will start thinking about which gun would be best for it, which caliber. And while the topic of which firearm you would use for home defense is indeed an important one, the conversation is definitely more detailed and nuanced than just what firearm you would use. I am by no means an expert on this at all, but I read several articles from home security specialists, and their take on this is kind of what I'm going to be giving you guys today. So the first goal is obviously to reduce or eliminate the possibility of a home defense situation occurring. Now, you can't completely eliminate it, so we're going to focus on reducing it. Some things you can help, such as the appearance of your home. Other things you can't necessarily just snap your fingers and make it different. That would be something like where you live. If you're military personnel, you're stationed somewhere, you can't magically change where it is that you're at. But the vast majority of us definitely have some kind of input into what our home looks like from the outside. Good exterior lighting is something that a lot of people say makes a big difference. The less inviting your home looks for a criminal to even want to break into, the better your chances. Clear away any hiding spots, bushes, hedges, debris around the outside of the home that a criminal could see as a good spot to hide. Make sure the home is well lit. Give the appearance of being prepared for guests, things like that. Also, try to change your schedule up. A lot of criminals that'll scope out a house before they break in will try to gauge when you're going places, what days of the week, what time, and figure out the best chance for their success. Most of your burglaries and home invasions are going to be people that really don't want you there when they come in. Obviously, there's a subset of that criminal element that does not care if you're there or not, in which case I go back to the firearm being a important discussion. It's a nice segue into my second point about making your home harder to get into. The common strike plate fasteners are like half-inch screws. One of the first things I do when I move in anywhere is I go ahead and replace those with some 2-inch exterior screws. That's going to go a long way towards making that door harder to kick in, and that can buy you time. Will they still get through the door? Maybe. But I would much rather listen to somebody pound on that door for however long before they actually kick it in. It gives me time to react and get ready. The other thing you can do is an alarm system. Monitored alarms are my go-to. If that alarm is triggered and I'm busy doing whatever I need to do, there's a good chance that alarm monitoring company is already going to be getting people out there to me. That being said, alarms are technology based, they can fail, so I would not lean on them 100%. If you're watching this, you're like, oh, I'll just get an alarm. That is a layer. Home defense needs to be done in layers. I think that prevention and then delay is a huge one. I think it's often overlooked. Delay, make them work harder to get in, and then be prepared to deal with that once they do get in. If you thought you were going to get through this whole little conversation without me bringing up some things inside the home, no such luck. So, number one, I think it's important to have some sort of quality weapon-mounted light on your home defense firearm. I think it's important to make sure that what you think is an armed intruder is not your aunt that you gave a key to your house and she has decided to let herself in and not wake you up, and in the process triggered that alarm because she didn't have the pin for that. I think nobody wants to go to their aunt's funeral because you shot them, or your friend's funeral, or whatever. So a good weapons-mounted light to identify any threats. It also leaves, you're not tying up both hands. You can manipulate the gun and the light if it's a handgun, or even a rifle. If the light is on the rifle, you can hold it and open doors and things like that. With that being said, I would advise you that if you are going to go that route, I cannot stress enough that the benefits of some quality low light training, learning how to run that light, proper light discipline, things like that. Go out and take a class when things open back up. Number one, I think you'll be shocked at how much practical experience you gain from it, and number two, just how enjoyable getting this quality training is. When it comes to your tactics inside the home, that's going to vary indefinitely. how many people do you have living in the home, what are their ages, what's the layout of your home. So I'll go over some just broad generalities. In the event that somebody has decided your home is where they want to break into, defeated your barriers, your hardened doors, or they've come through a window or whatever, and they are now inside your home, it may be very, very tempting to go look for that individual. Very tempting. And again, this is going to depend on your home layout, how old people are living in your home, and things like that. Now, if they're between you and your kids, I get it. For me, I'm not, I have a 2-level home. I'm not going downstairs unless I can avoid it, or unless I can't avoid it, I should say. Everybody that I care about is upstairs. I'm going to make that invader come to me, potentially. Be at the top of the stairs or wherever, and you basically get them to come to a choke point. Use the layout of your home to your advantage. You know that home better than they do. Chances are, unless they lived there for like 30 years before you moved in, you're going to know that home better than them, and you have a lot more at stake than they do. So use the layout of your home to your advantage. Discuss a home defense plan with your family members. Again, if you've got young children, I get that. I'm in the same boat. Stress to them the importance of staying put if you tell them to stay put. I realize that sounds silly, but if I tell my child, stay here until I tell you to move, through the course of normal day-to-day activities, I expect that to be followed. And this is one of those situations. Why? If somebody's in my home and I'm worried about focusing on them, I don't need my 5-year-old coming up to me going, "Daddy, what are you doing? Daddy, Daddy." It's the last thing I need to worry about. If I tell him to stay put, he needs to stay put. You need to have a path of retreat. It's something that I've heard a few people mention, not nearly as much as I would expect, but have a plan. If you have one position here, and for whatever reason it gets compromised, you don't resolve the situation, have a path to retreat, have another fallback place that you can take up another defensive position. And again, we're not talking about a battlefield, we're talking about your home. But in this situation, your home has become your battlefield, and you've got to employ that to the best of your advantage. So just a quick recap. Make your home unappealing. Make it look like it's not worth robbing. I don't mean, spray paint on the outside and things like that, but that the risk would not be worth any reward. Make it look like people are home. You have lights on timers, things like that. I've heard people say if you don't want a security system, just buy the yard signs. I don't know how true that is. I'm going to pay for the security system just because it makes sense to me. Dogs, as the neighbor's dog is barking. I haven't even shot yet, and I guess they're communicating from either side of my house. Dogs. A lot of criminals don't like dogs. It doesn't have to be a bull mastiff or something like that. Dogs bark, obviously, and they will often alert you to things that you may not have seen or heard or smelled, for that matter. So a dog can go a long way. If you were going to count on that dog as a guard dog of sorts, I would advise going down the path of getting that dog training. Some dogs will rise to those occasions, and some dogs are going to hide behind you and expect you to resolve it. So don't lean completely on your 4-legged critter, but I think they are a valuable addition, especially if you're already a dog type person. Now you've got an added reason to get one. The alarm system, I cannot stress enough, monitored versus unmonitored is going to be, a non-monitored alarm is basically a glorified door chime. They come in when you've got it armed, things go crazy, loud noises, potentially, and that's it. Nobody gets notified. A monitored alarm is where there is a call center of sorts where people are sitting around, and if that alarm is triggered, they get a notification on their end. They'll a lot of times attempt to call you or your spouse or whatever phone number you have on file. If that does not work, they send authorities, and different alarm companies have different procedures and times that they allow for whatever. So there is that. You can also set up code words. So if somebody's in the home and they make you answer the phone, you have code words you can use to signal you're in distress or that everything's okay. I would look into them. I am not going to recommend a company just because I don't have a whole lot of experience with them. I can tell you what I use and take that with a grain of salt. It's going to be Simply Safe. You can customize their options to fit your home with what sensors you need. Very, very nice flexibility with that company. So that's just who I use. I'm not telling you to go with them. I would check out the options in your area and what's going to work best for you. And home defense firearms. A lot of considerations come into play. A lot of people like shotguns, a lot of people like rifles, a lot of people like pistols. That's going to depend, again, your home layout, how many people you have living with you, their ages, their ability to follow commands and listen and participate in the defense plan. So I think that everybody can kind of universally agree rifles and shotguns more powerful than pistols and common centerfire calibers. And somebody's going to say, well, 22. No, I'm not talking about those. ARs, 30-06s, 12 gauges, AKs, those are going to be orders of magnitude more powerful than your standard centerfire pistol. I go with a semi-auto pistol as my first line of defense because young kids, they may not listen. I may have to move them with one hand, and yes, 2 hands on the gun is better than one, but one hand on the gun works better for a handgun versus anything else in my experience. So that's my first line of defense. I have a means to get to a rifle should the handgun fail. Should I decide that, yeah, I need to go get something a little better, I have that fairly quickly accessible. So I don't like talking about all this too much, just because it is so varied from person to person, but got asked enough times I figured I'd weigh in with my thoughts. Again, I'm not an expert. This is what works for me based on the stuff I've read, stuff I've seen. So number one, just be smart. So don't give people your address if they don't need to have it, and just be vigilant. Keep your head on a swivel. I know right now that this seems to be a pretty big topic of concern with everything going on. I've always kind of, I shouldn't say worried about it, but I've had it in the back of my mind that it's something that people should be prepared for. This situation that we're in right now just lends itself to that, partly because of the way the media reports things. Be smart. Pay attention to all the layers of your home defense plan. You guys got this. If you have any more questions that I didn't cover in the video, go ahead and drop them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. If we have any guys more knowledgeable than me, it just doesn't take a whole lot, go ahead and drop your thoughts in the comments as well. I'm interested to hear what everybody else thinks about this, so you don't have to go into too much detail if you don't want to. I'm definitely not interested in robbing your home, but the internet can be a weird place. So hope everybody's staying safe and keeping their sanity during this quarantine self-isolation period. Remember, if you can't get your live fire in right now, try to get some dry fire in. This will be a good time to get some snap caps to help protect your firearm during that excessive dry fire. And just try to stay sane. Take some time for you. Keep a journal if you're not already. I think that this is going to be something you'll want to tell the kids and grandkids about one day. I know I certainly, while I've hated everything that's gone on, it is a historic moment and my memory is crap. So writing stuff down helps me. Alrighty, I'll see you guys next time.